All right, let's do it.
Hello,
Continue.
this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. I'm happy to be speaking with Andrew Romanella, recently named the assistant baseball coach for Fairleigh Dickinson University Baseball in Teaneck, New Jersey, and also the radio talk show host of The Rome Show, and also has his live internet radio show on the 12-ounce sports radio network, The Wide World of Rome. Hey, congrats, Andrew. It's great to be speaking with you. And can't forget also managed the New York Brave in the All-American Baseball Challenge last summer there at Palisades Community Park. Hey, Andrew, congrats on your success. And, I guess right off the bat, what comes to your mind just this past year, what you've been able to accomplish here?
Well, first and foremost, Sunil, thank you for having me on. I'm super pumped to be here. Like I said to you before we hit record, anytime I can talk baseball and talk with you, I'm excited. So that's first and foremost, thank you. I'm pumped.
No problem.
When I think back about the last year, the biggest thing I think about is the support system that I had, which was allowed me to reach some new heights in my career. My girlfriend, Carissa, she came into my life about a year and a half ago. She has the same dreams and goals as me in the softball world. And she allowed me to kind of push the limits, take the opportunity with the Brave, be the manager, kind of step outside my comfort zone, because being a manager at the professional level, Sunil, to be honest with you, was not something, A, that was ever on my radar, and B, I didn't know if I was prepared for it. You never know until you kind of get comfortable being uncomfortable. And so she kind of pushed me to do that. And I was so thankful I did that, because it kind of opened up my eyes to what I can do in my career. And then thankfully, after spending last season at Fairleigh Dickinson University in Madison, New Jersey, the Division III program, I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to join the Division I program under head coach Rob DeToma in Teaneck. And I'm super pumped and fortunate. And I have to say, I just think I'm not here without my support system, and I'm super proud of my success, and I'm nowhere where I want to be. But I think when I think back about the year, Sunil, I got to be honest with you, I think more about the people that were willing to help me make those sacrifices and help me get there, because without those people, I don't think I'm the person or I am the coach that I am today.
No, it's wonderful, Andrew. I wanted to ask you, I mean, you have a number of responsibilities, of course, now here at FDU. I was just looking at, what you're able to write down. I mean, being a third base coach, infield, outfield, hitting a baseball, running assisting with recruiting. I mean, there's quite a bit involved in here, but can you just talk about that, having those wide range of tasks, as, the assistant baseball coach at Fairleigh Dickinson University?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that you have to be able to contribute to the team in any way, shape, or form. You want to make yourself an asset everywhere you go. So for me, over the course of my career, the job titles that you just noted, third base coach, infield, outfield, hitting, base running, some catching, I've worked really hard on trying to learn those positions so that I could be in a situation where I can help a ball club in all of those angles. And I was fortunate enough to it came to a head at FDU this year where I now have a chance to do it all at one time. And that's because our head coach, Rob DeToma, is a firm believer in allowing his assistants to work. And he told us straight up, we hired you to coach. We hired you to make our players better. And with that being said, it allows me to better myself in areas that I didn't catch at the college level. I didn't catch at the professional level, but having been in coaching for 9 years, I've learned a lot about how to make players from 18 to 25 at that position better. And so now I have another chance to do that. And I have a chance to coach third base at a level I've never been at. So for me, I'm just pumped that putting myself in positions to learn different crafts and traits that I was not very good at to begin my career, I now have a chance at a high level, the Division I level, the highest collegiate level, to kind of put those into play. It's going to be difficult to manage, I think, at first, because it's something I've never done. But I think that's why I'm so excited, because it's almost going to be, okay, how can we compartmentalize? I don't want to over hit and not work enough on our defense. I don't want to care too much about base running, and we're not making plays anyway, so we're down by 8 because we don't have a good defense. So that's the next step for me is, okay, I know how to teach these categories. Now, how can I put an efficient plan together as a quality assistant coach and get these high-level baseball players better? So I'm pumped. And to finish the thought, I am excited that there's a coach that believes in me enough to be able to handle that many student athletes in that many positions.
That's great. You can see the adrenaline, can see that exuberation, man. It's
I can't wait.
So you're ready to charge right onto the field.
Yes,
I had to
sir.
ask you, with FDU, because you've been a part of that program, that university for quite a long time, Andrew. Just looking at, again, baseball coach, recruiting coordinator, sports information director. I mean, you had quite a bit, I said, on your plate as far as the sports information director, working with the students, graduate, students. Can you talk about that time as well?
Can I just say this, Sunil, before I even talk about my experience as an SID, I have to tell everybody that's listening, the most underappreciated position in collegiate athletics is the sports information director or athletic communications director, whatever you want to call them, because nobody understands what that job is. And so for 2 years, what it was doing a job full time that I legitimately had no idea how to do, at least 50% of it every day I woke up. So it was a challenge, but it goes back to what I said earlier about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I knew I wasn't going to know how to do statistics for collegiate games. I knew I didn't know the rules for certain sports. I knew I didn't know how to work on a website, how to change bios. All of those things I knew I didn't know how to do. But I knew I was good at promoting, marketing, social media, getting my face out there, broadcasting. So I said to myself, let's do it. And what I learned in that 2 years is that is the most underappreciated position in collegiate athletics. If you are somebody listening to this podcast and you know a sports information director, thank them for what they do, because they're working 18 to 20 hours a day. It's nonstop, because they are the person for every single student athlete and every single coach in the school. So I'm fortunate and thankful for my time, but I'll be honest with you, Sunil, I will never be a sports information director ever again in my life. It was a good experience. It was a great experience, but it really then taught me, though, that my heart belonged on the baseball field, and I needed to get back to my true roots, which was showing up every day, having an impact on student athletes through the vehicle of baseball.
I had to, just talking about the technology, like I see Sidearm Sports there, and there are a couple, I saw a couple other, I guess, applications that they would use as well. I mean, it's just remarkable how much we've progressed over the years in terms of, live streaming as well, these games. It is just fascinating. Just, this is just, I guess, the tip of the iceberg. I mean, just knowing as we move forward here, years, into the future, what it's going to be, as far as, with, computers, with applications, again, with live streaming as well, Andrew.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize this is the last 10 years. This hasn't been going on for a long time. So I graduated college in 2013 from St. Thomas Aquinas College. And I remember when I was broadcasting their basketball games when I first graduated, I remember saying to myself, this has to be the only school that broadcasts their college basketball games. Like, I've been in college for 4 years. I don't think but one of our baseball games have been broadcasted unless it was in the conference tournament. So for schools to be able to not only be broadcasting every game, but every sport is mind-blowing to me. And you're 100% correct. And so if in the last 10 years, our technology for collegiate sports, both D1, 2, and 3, junior college, everywhere, has gotten this advanced, I'm excited and nervous, because more technology does mean more problems sometimes. But I'm excited and nervous to see where the sports world can go from here. And, you don't have to be on ESPN anymore for people to be able to watch your games. And I think that's the really cool thing for the student athlete.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I wanted to just talking back to last summer, said with the All-American Baseball Challenge, and what I mean, you talk about just getting that hands-on experience, being in the dugout, managing a team. Again, I don't think it's any better than that. You were able to, said have some good success. And the only game I was able to come up there, to see you, definitely get in the umpire's faces. But said you brought, again, that passion, said that intensity, to the dugout. But can you just talk? I mean, how cool that was last summer.
I have to be honest with everybody. It was the best experience of my life. That 8-9 week stretch was probably the most fun I've ever had in the game of baseball. And I've had a lot of awesome experiences, and you've been a part of a bunch of my great experiences over the course of my career. And to sum it all up, I was grateful for the opportunity to manage the Brave. And I thought it was really cool, Sunil, because when you think about the New York Brave, it's a professional baseball team that's one and only. Yeah. There's only one manager ever. That's Andrew Romanella. There's only one roster ever. That's those guys that went to the championship game last year. Yeah. And there's only one season in its history. And I think that's what the coolest part about it was last year is you knew you were coaching something that probably was never going to exist again. Yeah. And it almost made every win, it made every opportunity to go to the field that much better. And the experience of being a professional manager and dealing with what professional managers deal with, because it's true, even in COVID times, pros are going to be pros. And for anybody that didn't know about the league, essentially the AABC was the opportunity for the Frontier League and specifically the teams in New Jersey and New York to say, hey, these players can still play some professional baseball under the COVID restrictions and guidelines. Fans can still come watch them play. Let's do this thing. Yeah. And now the players had to put a lot up. They had to pay their way to the games. They didn't get any professional treatment, no contracts, nothing. But they had the opportunity to play pro baseball and in front of fans. Yeah. And so what happened was at the beginning, there was no traction. You know, there were some people that were skeptical, but they were interested. They wanted to see baseball. And then you look back on that league, and between the Boulders and the Brave alone, I think of the 35, 40 guys on the roster, there might be 30 that are still in professional baseball today. Yeah. And it then became, I think, something that we had guys flying in from Iowa to come play for our team. We had kids driving from California to be on our roster. And it almost became something where it was like, by the time the championship game hit, there was about 1,500 people at Jackal Stadium when we played the championship game. And I think the realization was this was as close to Frontier League baseball as you're going to get. And when I look back on it, I say to myself, wow, I can't believe I got a chance to manage one of those teams. We made it to the championship game. We lost 3-2. It was very disappointing. But for me, all it did then, Sunil, after that was tell me I want to be there. You know, if I ever had the chance to manage the Rockland Boulders, that'd be a dream come true. If I ever had the chance to manage another team in the Frontier League, that'd be a dream come true, because I really do believe that I belong. I can handle myself at that level, and I belong at that level. And it doesn't necessarily need to be as a manager per se. Mm-hmm. But I think that what it taught me last summer was, and that's probably why I'm at the Division I baseball level this year, is I really can get through to high level players. My personality really works at that level. And it gives me a really good sense of having a positive effect. And the cool part about it is at the indie level, not all those guys are going to Major League Baseball. Yeah. So you're really making impacts that are just beyond the baseball field too. They're just a higher level of baseball player that still has the chance to move their professional career on. Whereas most of the college players are going to graduate and, as the NCAA says, go professional in something other than sports. So the AABC, to be a manager of the Brave, historical. It'll never happen again. Yeah. And to learn that I could do it and to see that I belong on that level really gets me hungry to have another chance to manage a ball club over 100 games, a legit Frontier season, and prove my worth.
No, it's terrific. I mean, able to outset what the Sussex County Miners, I said, in advance. I mean, talk about, something that you can always hang your hat on and that, you'll carry in your memory bank forever, Andrew. That must have been just, awesome, just to be able to do that.
That was the single greatest baseball game I've ever managed in my entire life. I will be honest with you. If you wanted me to recite every move and decision from that game, I could, because I remember it vividly forever. That game will be with me. I actually, on my wall to the left and to the right, to my left, I have my lineup card hanging for my first professional win. Mm-hmm. And to my right, I have the lineup card hanging for my first professional win. And I have one of the ticket stubs. It's just, I never, if it never matriculates into a managerial job, I am okay, because I got that opportunity, and I think I put everything I could into it. And I don't know if I have any regrets, because the energy and time and the amount in 8 weeks, it felt like a 7.5 month season, because the care level was there and the urgency was there. So, hey, I hope it turns into one, but if it doesn't, I could die peacefully knowing that I got that opportunity and I put everything into it.
No, that's great. And I said, I want to quickly, of course, transition, and it's again your level of success here with your talk show. I said the Rome show, and then of course, the producing, There you go. I'm glad Sporting. That's an awesome logo. That's outstanding. The 12-ounce Sports Network producing the Wide World of Rome podcast. So, I mean, this has just worked out. It's fabulous for you. Just describe this. Being able to, also on the broadcast side as well here, Andrew.
It's been a life dream of mine to be on the radio, whether that is as a radio broadcaster like a Michael Kay and a Don LaGreca on ESPN, or like a John Sterling for the New York Yankees, broadcasting baseball, basketball, whatever. It's always been a dream of mine. And so I've lived this life, Sunil, where I've had two passions at one time. One is baseball coaching and one is sports broadcasting. And I've tried to, over the last 3 or 4 years, take my baseball coaching contacts and expand my network into broadcasting. So 3.5 years ago, I started a podcast with my brother-in-law's brother called the Dab Podcast. That's where it all got going. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of created this cool little fan base. I parlayed that into a live radio show on the internet radio, and then that turned into 12-ounce sports radio. And what I kind of did was I said, I can do this while I baseball coach. I can have a podcast network. I can host a live radio show and almost parallel these careers together, so that when I am officially done baseball coaching, whenever that is, I can stay where my heart's at in broadcasting and know that, hey, I can live 2 careers in one. And the model is kind of like most professional athletes, right? They play 15 years of professional sports and they jump into the radio booth for 15 years. And I'm well aware you got to have a resume to get into those booths. Yeah. So that's part of the reason why I continue the baseball coaching, because it's always going to bolster my broadcasting. And so what I really try to do with Wide World of Rome is what you're doing right here in the press box, Sunil. And it's just, I want a regular guy type talk show or a regular guy type podcast network I can go to, and I can get a 10, 15-minute podcast of Andrew going nuts about something stupid. I can get an hour live radio show where his brother's yelling at him, telling him he's an idiot. And I can get, I produce a football podcast. The head football coach at FU Florham hosts it on Fridays. I could produce that, and people can come for a lot of different things and not feel like it has to be the most knowledgeable person in America that's giving them that info. Hey, it's actually a guy that's just like me, that eats at McDonald's just like me, that's paying his rent month by month just like me, right? But he's got these sports opinions that I agree with. Yeah. And so that's kind of what we founded it on. And it's kind of taken off from there. And obviously, I'm no short of liking myself a little bit, Sunil. So we made the logo a caricature of my face. And it's very creative conversation.
I said you have that. You got to be innovative, and you definitely have that on display there with the T-shirt. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Well, that's good. I'm glad my money was.
I love the beard. Love it.
That's the best part, right? It's the details, the little details. So so now we just have fun, and we have the opportunity. We have a few sponsors. It's cool. I'm not here to try and make an insane amount of money off it. What I'm really trying to do is live out my passion. And hopefully one day, that turns into something that I could pay my rent checks and be married and have kids and et cetera, et cetera. But for now, it's about building a foundation. And I'm not a huge Gary Vee guy, but I had heard him talk a few years ago when I was starting the podcast about when he started his podcast, it was 3, 4, 5 people listening max. He was putting out YouTube videos where 10 people would listen. And he says he gets these inquiries all the time of people asking him, what's it like to put out a video and 1 million people watch? He goes, well, what was it like for a year and a half to put out videos where 5 people watched? I had to keep doing it every day to believe that one day I'd get 1 million, 100%. So what we just do with the Wide World of Rome is we try and get one person a week. If there's one person at a recruiting camp or a lot of the pro guys, obviously, I work my tail off. I'll try and interview them. I had Jamie Keefe on. I had Mikael Mogs on, some guys I know that you definitely know, Zach Rakusin. So I'll use those guys to kind of maybe get me an extended network. And then hopefully one day, hey, I'm done. I'm a 25-year head coaching veteran. I'm in the booth and I'm broadcasting the New York Knicks on the radio, something cool like that. Yeah. And I have to be honest with you. Yeah. If there was one sport I could broadcast for the rest of my life, it would be hockey.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I mean, especially when it gets the Stanley Cup playoff time, there's nothing better than that. That 2-month stretch run is, the way these guys, battle it out and, said, spill the blood guts. I mean, you hear some of the injuries that these guys play through. I mean, broken ribs, torn, knee ligaments, and these guys, but it's all, about raising that cup, said, not in June, but in July.
Yeah, right.
Last couple of years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
You made the excellent points that going back to FDU, like, the number of sports, like, now that can be live streamed. And this is the thing, is that you can now really tap into that, even like, on the collegiate level, as far as like, covering, sports, bringing, coaches, players on. And it's surreal, to see, I said the growth, I said of, broadcast media. You have so much that you on your plate, like, when it comes to this show. I mean, it's just, the behind the scenes work, Andrew. It's just not about, the talk show. I mean, it's, it's about, producing, editing, website content, and then uploading it to the various platforms. Just taking a look at iTunes, Google, Spotify. That's, again, it again relates to technology. Again, that it goes hand in hand. Can you just talk about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's the grind part of it, right? Like the fun part of it, you turn the microphone on, you talk. The grind part about how do I get it out there? How do I get it on social media? How can I be efficient with everything? So I tell everybody this, because the one thing that's always been told to me, or people talk to me about, is exactly what you just said, is there's a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, there is a lot on my plate.
When do you sleep?
You know right. And so that's part of the two things that I kind of try and do every single day, right? Like, I know what I want to work on, and I know what I need to get done. So if I get that organized every single day, I have a whiteboard sitting next to me, and it's really a simple thing. I get up, and I don't try and overdo myself. I'm not trying to do 47 things in one day, right? I have to understand when each thing is needed. And it's taken me forever to get there, but now I finally have an understanding. So I try and start with 5 to 6. I got 6 up there today, right? Mm-hmm. So if I can get those 6 done in a day, generally those 6 are going to cover almost every part of one of the pieces of the meal on my plate, right? And so then I can kind of get that rolling every single day. But the second part of it is I have to be willing to give stuff up. Meaning, for example, over the weekend, I spent 16 hours Saturday, 16 hours Sunday at FDU because we were hosting a team camp, okay? I need to understand, though, that if I take those 2 days to be with my what is considered full-time, everyday job, well, then to make up the time for the other things I do on the side, I got to be okay with getting up at 4 a.m. some days. And instead of sleeping till 6, right, I'll sleep till 4, but that's 2 extra hours I've gained to work on the Wide World of Rome. So now when I'm done with the Wide World of Rome, I then get back to my FDU career. Then when I'm done with all that, now I can work on the Fast 5-Star podcast. I can record an interview with somebody. I can get some website content up. I can edit some certain things, right? But it all comes down to I got to prioritize what my responsibilities are every day, and I have to be okay giving some things up. My favorite example is I live in New Jersey. Everyone loves the Jersey Shore. I love it equally as much. I have a house in Long Beach Town for 17 years, and I spend most of my summers working down there. Yeah. If I could be there every single day right now, I would. But I do know that that's a sacrifice I have to give up if I want to be able to do all of these things and I want my long-term success. So I pretty much, those 2 things, be willing to sacrifice certain things. And I don't know what those things are, right? It's week by week, it's day by day. But as long as I identify it and I'm willing to do it and sacrifice it, there's going to be a benefit. And then the second thing is stay organized with the tasks. What are my tasks? Don't overwhelm myself with them and get them done. And all of a sudden, you're going to find time. You're going to be like, oh, my God, 24 hours is a lot longer than I thought it was, right? But you have to first be willing to experience what being awake for 20 hours is. What is waking up at 4 a.m. and going to sleep at 12 o'clock like? But throughout that 20 hours, putting your mind to things that you want to do and get better at and succeed in. Because you think about it and say, do I want to work 20 hours? Well, yeah, you do if you're loving what you do. And I'll tell you what, I'll take those 20-hour days every single day and twice on Sunday if I get the chance to do what I love to do every single day. I got a girlfriend that supports me. We have a great life, and I can continue moving forward in my career.
Andrew, one of your next steps has got to be a motivational speaker.
I'm in. I love it. I love that. I have to say, I have to give credit to my dad.
Yeah.
My dad's he's been a huge influence in my life, and for 45 years, he's been a huge businessman.
Yeah.
He worked at UPS for 36 years as a CEO of a company, and he's an author of a leadership book. And he has taught me a whole lot about how to have an appropriate mindset when you tackle your daily tasks every day. And I think the reason why you tell me I might sound like a motivational speaker is because I've listened to that man motivate for my 30-year lifetime.
Better than that.
It is. And I just said, whenever that's said to me, I have to give the credit where the credit's due, because he has been huge. And by the way, the Wide World of Rome will be hosting his Leadership Library podcast coming soon.
Oh,
so
that's a nice plug right there.
For those. Yeah.
Very nice. Hey, back to baseball. I said you served as a bench coach, for the Rockland Boulders, 5-6 years under Jamie?
About 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years under Jamie Keefe. 5 straight trips to the postseason. I mean, talk about one of the best runs ever. I mean, you talk about in Boulders, history in the organization. I mean, what were those moments? I mean, said working with Jamie Keefe, just by side, and just being those teams.
It was so cool. I mean, everything about my time with Jamie Keefe, I am so thankful for. He is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, coaching mentor I have in my career. Took me under his wing in 2014. And that's a really funny story, which I could tell you if we have some time. But the bottom line is, being on those teams, I learned a few different things. But the biggest thing I learned was building relationships is the most important thing you could do. The unique part about all of those teams and why those teams were successful and why they won the championship in 14 and why they were able to go to 5 straight playoffs. And I think we were in the championship against Quebec in 18, maybe 2, if my memory serves me correctly, because Keith built relationships in that locker room. Yeah. And at the independent level, that doesn't happen often because there's a lot of shuffling of players and there's a lot of changeover. Well, at Rockland in those 5 years, it's kind of crazy, but there was a core group of guys led by
I was just about to say they kept the core together. If they didn't keep the core together, you would never have that level, again, that level of success. You wouldn't have that consistency year after year. Great point.
Without a doubt. And what was cool is like the Richard Salazars and the Marcus Nidefers and those guys. What was really, what was cool about seeing them is that they wanted to be there. Like there were plenty of chances for those guys to go play in the American Association, the Atlantic League, get a step closer to back to big league ball, but they didn't because they wanted to stay in that environment. And so for me, I remember those 5 years. Some of the best memories I have because those guys took me in with open arms, some that were older than me. And I'm sitting here, I'm their bench coach, right? I'm coaching base. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Right. And it was a family of, and even when we lost a player, or a guy got released, or we had to make a trade, or somebody came in that was just a bad apple, it was so cool to watch how that locker room didn't let it happen and didn't let it break the bond that was developed. And so it turned into great baseball. And then over the course of those seasons, right, I was there for parts of some, there for full for others. Guys just had each other's backs. Every time we hit adversity, I think there was a stretch, if I remember, in like 17 or 18, where they lost like 9 straight. Yeah. And I remember coming in to join the ball club after the college season ended. And I said, Keith, what the hell is going on around here? And he goes, we have a lot of not Rockland Boulders in this locker room. And I remember sitting there like getting chills down my back being like, wow, like, it's independent baseball, but yet we have a professional clubhouse that probably mirrors or is better than some of the 32 ball clubs at Major League Baseball, because this man understands that the relationships are the most important part about the game. So, and then, the last thing is I remember is you're going to laugh at this. I remember Quebec fans from that 5, because Quebec was really, I know Three Rivers won a championship in there and, Sussex won it in 19 maybe, but in that run before Jamie left to go to High Point, Quebec and Rockland were really the 2 teams that everyone was coming in trying to beat every year. And I remember every time we would go up there, we would get killed. I mean, not like on the field, but by their fans. And it was a blast. But there'd be 25, 3,000 every single game. And I just remember every time we'd go up there, I'd be so excited to be the road team because it was like the 2 best teams in the league. Everybody understood it. It felt like a playoff game every single time. And I think that sticks out to me so much, because when I talk to my guys now about big time road series in college, I'm like, at the professional level, you got 17 of these. So if you don't show up with a mindset every single time, you're going to get killed. And up in Quebec with that fan base, it would happen. So, oh man, one of the best 5-year runs of my life, Sunil. I'll forever thankful for what Keith did with me and what he did with that locker room during that time.
Yeah, I was saying, the Boulders and Jackals have a great rivalry, but nothing, said, I think beats also, the Boulders and Quebec, because 2016, it said down 0-2, and then they rally, said to win 3 straight at Palisades Credit Union Park, and then I know in 2017, I think, they of course swept the Boulders, but again, I mean, it's not easy, as you said, year after year to be able to make the postseason. I mean, 5-6 years, of that is just unheard of. I mean, it's just, you look at other teams in that league, don't even match that, unless you go way back to, of course, in the early days of the Can-Am League with the New Jersey Jackals. But, he just had a certain blueprint, and of course, his previous experiences, as a manager, as a player. I think just, again, it all, as I said, fit the billing, with, that organization, with that, with those teams. And it was just, just a magical time.
And you're about to see the same, before you go on, just want to say this.
Go ahead.
You're about to see the same thing in High Point. It's about to happen in High Point.
I know that. Yeah. I mean, he's just the same, personnel there, it's like everyone just like transitioned right down to High Point, North Carolina. And again, having that same type of, winning tradition. And it's great to see what he's been able to do it there. I mean, he's missed in Pomona, New York, but, I think what he's doing down there is just, again, it's phenomenal. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, again, one of the best. I've always said, one of the best managers out there, said, for a long time. Yeah, a couple more for you. I can't thank you enough for the time, Andrew. I don't want to forget, of course, your alma mater, Stack, St. Thomas Aquinas College. I mean, not only as a commentator, as a coach, as a player. Just talk about, how, being able to move up that ladder, but, and have, again, just enjoy that run. I mean, how cool was that for you, Andrew?
Awesome. And you mentioned St. Thomas Aquinas College. The chance for me to coach there in 2018 and win a championship there as a coach. I got to win a championship there as a player in 2013. I won a championship there as a coach in 2018. Climbing up the ladder has been so cool, and St. Thomas Aquinas College is the reason that I've gotten here. It's such a small school in Sparkhill, Sunil. I know you know it, but not many people know it outside of even the sports world. And what I learned there was, it kind of comes back to the building relationships thing, but it was about the people that I met there. And some of the people, John Garvey being one of them, who's their current head baseball coach now, who recruited me there, hired me back there when he was an assistant. He was one of those guys is that when you graduated, it wasn't just going to be, okay, you graduated, see you later, next guy. It was, hey, you graduated and you know what? You are good at this broadcasting thing. Let's hire you back for our basketball team. And then, hey, you know what? You're in the coaching career. Let's bring you back to Stack. And through all of those experiences, while I was kind of building my career outside of Stack, the school affected me every single step of the way. And so it was really cool. And I think back now, I know my journey is nowhere near over, but entering my 9th year of collegiate baseball, and knowing that I've had, 5 years of professional baseball under my belt, I look back and I'm just super thankful for the people that took a shot on me. I think so many times when you jump into professions, you compare your resume at the time to the resumes of everybody else's, and you immediately judge yourself off of that. So when I started my career, I graduated from a D2 school. I was a part-time player, and I think at the time, when I first became a head coach at the junior college level, I was like doubting myself. And it really took the people in my career to kind of pull at me and say, hey, Romo, you're really good at this, or you can do this, or you can teach this. Come do it with me and realize your potential. And when I look back on climbing this ladder, which I know, again, is still so high up and I'm still nowhere near where I want to be, just look back at every step that there was somebody there that was, when I was doubting myself, or I didn't think I could coach at this level, or these guys were better than the teaching I could bring. There was always somebody that's, no, you're good enough for this. And so now as I transition and, to a decade in this game, getting close to it, and I get a little bit older, I've realized that, winning's fun. But for me, more than anything else, I just want to make sure when I have an opportunity to be that person for somebody else, I want to do it, because in this game, if somebody's there for you, you could reach heights. But when you feel like you're alone on an island, that's when this game becomes the most difficult it can become. So it's looking back now and being thankful. I say to myself, I think that is now a burden, a positive one on my shoulders, where these people did this for me, and people are still doing it for me. I need to do this for other people, whether it's a younger coach or a player in my program or a former pro guy that I was with that's now trying to navigate life outside of pro baseball. I just want to kind of be that positive mentor, whatever wording you want to use for those people, just like people were for me.
That's awesome. I don't want to forget about a couple of your positions. Of course, you were also assistant baseball coach and recruiting coordinator at the College of Mount St. Vincent, and we talk about so much about college and professional baseball, independent baseball, but also you were a head baseball coach of Evolution Baseball Organized. I mean, that travel ball, especially the New York, New Jersey here. I think people, maybe don't understand, how important that is at the lower levels, for these players, to rise up as well to that next level. Can you just talk about that as well, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. I got a chance to spend about 4 or 5 years on the travel ball circuit over the course of the beginning of my career. And, like I mentioned the camp earlier where we were spending so much time at FDU this weekend, those were travel ball teams coming in and trying to be recruited by college teams. And so the travel ball circuit's huge. And for that matter, youth sports in general, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing. It matters about the people that are working with the 8 to 10 to 12 to 14-year-olds, because that's the next generation of athletes. So they need to be taught the appropriate way. And B, this is a vehicle for life. And it doesn't start when you're 18 years old and you enter college and all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's learn about life. No, it's a vehicle for life the entire time you're growing and you're learning. So travel ball for me is fun because it's a really white canvas of players and their mindset and their mentality and how they go about things. And you're like, okay, I can take this game of baseball and in 5 years, this game of baseball can help this kid be the best student in the classroom, get an exceptional scholarship to a school, and live out his dream of playing college baseball. Yeah. And then 10 years from that, hopefully see him succeed as a husband, as a father in the business world, etc. And so not enough people, I think, in the travel ball circuit see it for that. What they see it is a moneymaker, which is very disappointing. Yeah. And B, they see it as, okay, we got to get these kids to college. Well, why are you getting these kids to college? Like, what's the point? Are you doing it just so then you can in turn go back to point A, which is make more money? Or are you doing it because getting these kids to college is the end goal of a 5-year process in your program that made them a better person, matured them, and got them prepared for their next step in life? And so for me, actually, underneath the Wide World of Rome umbrella, we're actually going to start youth baseball camps for ages 8 to 12, because I just feel like there's not enough good learning going on at those age levels. And so kids are either hating the sports that they're playing because no one really cares about them. They just care about trying to make them the best soccer player, football player, baseball player in the world. Well, it goes back to the relationships, right? If you show a kid that you care about them, in turn, they're probably going to become a better athlete because they're going to listen to you. But if you show a kid that you only care about them being great on the field because it's going to benefit you, well, then that kid's not really going to care for what you say. And so I think about that all the time. And I do miss being in travel baseball because of that. And which is why I kind of want to recycle back into youth baseball, because I think that as I've seen it from the college side, recruiting that age level, it's disappointing to see some of the things that go on. And so now I say to myself, okay, well, maybe the Wide World of Rome has an opportunity through some of these platforms to create a place where young kids can not just learn the game, but maybe mature, have a lot of fun, and build some relationships along the way.
Yeah, because I think burnout is so much plays a role in it, because you talk about the physical, aspects of playing athletics, but also, the mental side. I think people, I've talked to a number of players and coaches about that, especially the athletes, and they say that that's, the mental part, man. I mean, if you don't have that, focus, that drive, I mean, you're cooked. I mean, it's just like, that's problematic, as said for many of these athletes. And that's why sometimes they just drop right out of sports. They say, you know what, we're going to hang it up and we're going to, pursue something else. And that, you're right, it is disappointing. That's why it's such a testament to what you were able to do. Not only here at FDU, what you've been doing, but also at the College of Mount St. Vincent, is that with the study halls and with focusing on the student athlete. I think that's what a lot of people forget, is that these are student athletes as well, and that, again, as you alluded to, preparing them for life, preparing them for a career, and that's just outstanding. What you were able to do there as well, Andrew.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned the study halls, because so many kids are like, oh, I got to do study hall. And I'm like, listen, okay, here's the deal. Study hall is not necessarily just about your academics. Like if you think about it, right? I have a task I'm going to have to accomplish this week for my job or for whatever. If I allot myself 2 hours every single week and say, I'm going to do this task every Monday from 5 to 7 every week, well, then by the time Monday at 7:01 hits, that task is no longer on your radar and you can move forward. So for a college kid, I know you're a baseball player mentally first. I get that, but you can't do this without academics. So let's allot 2 to 3 hours a week where we know we're going to get our homework done. Because if we know we're going to get it done then the other 300 hours of the week, I don't have to worry about finding time for that homework because it's already done. So I use study hall as another example of, it's just about time management. It's not necessarily about me wanting to watch you study for 2 hours, because I have no interest in watching you study for 2 hours. I have so many other things I want to do, right? But if I do this now, in 20 years, when you understand how to manage your time, you're better for it. And I appreciate that you would say that, Sunil, because that's, I think, and it's not just me, it's all coaches across the country that, I'm not the best coach in the world. I'm not even nowhere near the best assistant coach. I'm nowhere near any of that. I've just learned from great people. And so I think there are a lot of people out there like me. And I think there are a lot of people. I had a podcast a few weeks ago about how coaches matter at every level, and no one gives coaches enough credit. And it's not just because I'm a coach. It's more or less because I had great people that coached me that made me a better person. And that needs to be talked about more. Teachers need to be talked about more. Those are the people that we just talked about maturing. Well, you're with a student 187 days out of the year, Monday through Friday. So clearly teachers matter, because we send our kids to school from age 5 to age 22. So why wouldn't we try and make it so that our teachers were in better environments to do their job? And instead of saying, oh, teachers, if summer's off, no, why don't we say, they have summers off because they deal with your kid for 9 months out of the year, trying to make them a better person. And so it's the same with coaches. Coaches are underpaid across America. And it's really sad, because the coaches are in charge of your kids for their 4 years. They get in trouble, it's on the coach. They do something stupid, they fail, whatever it is. But yet you're not going to pay the coach enough to live and actually have a positive effect on the kid, because he's got to have 6 other jobs to be able to show up to this one job. Why would we devalue what we realize is super beneficial to our kids?
Well said. There are a couple more spots I had to ask you about before I get finish up with, of course, your hometown of Allentown, New Jersey, and I said a couple other places. Hey, head baseball coach and baseball instructor, social media director at Zone Sports as well, and then head baseball coach at Raritan Valley Community College. Just quickly, I said talk about those spots as well.
Raritan Valley was the first place I ever coached collegiate baseball. I am super thankful for my 2 years there. I can tell you, Sunil, we did not win a lot of baseball games, but if I was to text any kid that graduated with their associate's degree in those 2 years right now, I could see them in a heartbeat. And I think that's the most success I've ever had in my career, building some relationships. And I think that's what I'm super thankful for from that opportunity. And Zone Sports Academy is still very prevalent in my life today. Actually, my girlfriend, that's how we met. She's a full-time employee at Zone Sports Academy for softball. And I still do some work with some of their teams. And now some of my former players are actually getting their coaching career started at Zone Sports Academy. So those two places, without those two places that you just mentioned, Sunil, I am nowhere near where I am in my career today. Those were the jump off points. And I tell people all the time, I took some serious risks with those two jobs. You know, I did them kind of at the same time. It was super difficult. It was right out of college. And I said, I'm going to take a risk on myself. I think I could be a coach. I think I could do this. And, you know, take over a really bad junior college that didn't even have a program the year before and go to a baseball facility and coach baseball to kids that were less than 7 years younger than you. And you know what? Thank gosh I did it, because now I took that step, and those two places were what really helped start my career.
That's great. Okay, it said hometown, Allentown, New Jersey. Attended the gunnery school. It said definitely, you know, said flourished on the baseball diamond there. Just what comes to your mind, you know, thinking about, you know, your times there?
So actually, my family's resided in Allentown for the last 15 years.
Oh, okay, okay.
I have lived in 6 different states, Sunil. So
wow.
I was born in New Jersey, right near Rutgers University.
Okay.
We moved to Syracuse, New York when I was 4. My dad working for UPS. And then we moved to Des Moines, Iowa when I was 7. And then when I was 8, we moved to Southern California.
Wow.
And then when I was 12, we moved to Alpharetta, Georgia. Then while we were living in Georgia, I went to the Gunnery, which was a private boarding school in Connecticut.
Okay.
And then my family moved back to Allentown, I want to say 2007 or 2008. Now we've resided in New Jersey ever since. But yeah, so that's why I actually kind of went to the Gunnery. One part because of sports and my brother was there playing hockey, and 2 because I needed some consistency in my life. My mom could tell that it was affecting me to go to so many different schools, and so it benefited me. And the Gunnery, Sunil, is who made me who I am today. I could shout out a few different people. Jeff Trundy, who is currently the head baseball coach of the Falmouth Commodores in the Cape Cod Baseball League. He's been there for about 25 years. He is my second father. I could say that honestly. A man named Richard Martin was my head football coach, assistant baseball coach. Him and his wife had a profound impact on me in my career. And then Peggy and Ed Small, Mr. and Mrs. Small. Ed Small was actually my math teacher, and he was our assistant baseball coach, and we share the same birthday. And those 5 people, along with a few others at that school, took an Andrew Romanella that probably wasn't going down the specific path he should be going down in high school, and turned him into a lot of the person that you're speaking with today. And I am forever grateful for that school. I'm forever grateful for those people, because they really helped shape what I wanted to become and who I have become. And I know that people don't like spending money donating back to the places that they go, but one place that I will always send even $1 every single year is what is now called the Frederick Gun School, because I hope that other Andrew Romanellas are in those doors today, getting their lives changed. And I don't care if my money helps it or it doesn't. I just want them to know that I appreciate, and, you know, that's the easiest way to appreciate somebody is giving them money. So, but yeah, those, the times moving, thickened my skin, made me a great communicator because I had to meet people all the time. And the Frederick Gun School changed my life. And secretly, one day I'd like to go replace Jeff Trundy as the head baseball coach there and be able to affect people while working at the school.
Very good. Hey, I wanted to ask you before you went to Stack. I think you attended the City College in New York, CUNY School in NYC in New York City. And what just stood out, you know, a stat, you started every game at shortstop for 2 years. Is that correct?
It is correct. It was actually, it was very cool, and a really funny story off that. And this is why anyone listening, building relationships is so important. In 2010, after the 2010 season, I decided to transfer to Stack. 2011, 2012 was my first year at Stack. So I transferred to Stack because we didn't win a lot at City College. We were going through a new head coach and blah, blah, blah. So I transferred. I'm at Diamond Nation 2 weeks ago from today, and I'm talking with the current City College baseball coach. And my coach at City College was coaching a travel baseball team that we were both watching, Crazy Connections. And I said to Steve Macy, as the head coach currently, I said, hey, Steve, do you know that Dave York is the guy that recruited me there? And I played at City College for him. He goes, yes, I did. I said, you know, I played every game there. And I was just like kind of messing around with him. And he looked at me, and I never realized it. So that moment he looked at me and goes, Romo, you could have played every game the next 2 years too. You know, I took over as the head coach, and I was like, oh my God, I actually had no idea. He's like, yeah, we've known each other for 8 years. You had no idea that when I took over, you were the one guy I was trying to get to stay. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so what's cool about it now is he kind of developed a relationship with me without me even knowing that story for 8 years, but he knew of me. And I guess because, you know, hey, I guess I carried myself pretty well, even in a scenario where I left the school. And so now we've had a good relationship, but it's a pretty crazy story after my city college days. And one thing I'll tell kids, you know, I transferred to a D2 school, but I didn't transfer necessarily because I wanted to be an everyday player. I transferred because I wanted to win, and Stack was winning at the time. But the D3 level is great because, I mean, how many people can say they played 76 straight games at the college level? I mean, like, that's super cool. And I think back about those 76 games, we might have only won 25 of them. And hey, I chose winning over playing, but hey, if you want to play every day, don't rule out Division III schools simply because it's not Division I or Division II and they can't give scholarships, because there's a lot of great opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. You know, another wild stat, I think it was when you were at Stack, and it was like mind-boggling, you know, to read this. I don't know, it said starting in 46 games, but it appeared at 80 at 5 different positions. Is that correct as well?
Yeah, I appeared in third base, shortstop, second base, right field, and left field, and that's in my 2 years there. Yeah, I really lobbied Muscat and Garvey to try and, like, on senior day, like, let me play center, first base, let me pitch, and let me catch. I want to try, but they weren't having any of it because we were trying to win.
Oh man, that is insane. It said I don't want to forget about your education as well. As you said, you graduated from St. Thomas Aquinas College. 2013, but you're pursuing now a master's of business administration from FDU Forum, and that'll be completed. You're going to complete that in the spring of 2022. I mean, it just, you know, that's just it said when you look back, I mean, that's quite an achievement. You know, it said, you know, that coming up here now with your master's degree.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier about managing the time, right, and being able to make sacrifices. A lot of kids that I work with don't know or don't realize that I'm still going to school, and that's okay. I don't really care. I don't really broadcast it. It's not for them. It's for me, right? But one thing I realized about trying to get my master's while being a professional is that A, it's extremely hard. B, you find yourself doing homework at 2 a.m. often. But C, if you want to get continued education, do it the minute you graduate college. The minute you graduate with your undergrad degree, look to see if you want to continue your education, because we talked about mindset a little bit on this show.
Yeah.
Well, the mindset of getting back into going to school is super difficult. So I chose my master's in business administration because a lot of coaches have the sports administration masters, or they have the coaching title. And I said to myself, I feel like my resume will pop if I have a communications undergrad and I have a master's in business administration. So I have to be honest with you, it has been one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, because my mind does not work. It's not business savvy. My dad clearly sucked up all of those genes. Him and my brother, they're the business guys. I got the sports side of it and the talking side of it. So the challenge has been real, but I'm 18 credits away. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I have to be honest, you know, through the difficulties of just trying to do it, I have learned so much about things that I did not know. And it kind of reaffirms a mindset I've always had, and I want to be a continual learner. I didn't realize I wanted to continually learn in the classroom. But hey, it is the vehicle I've always learned in. So it kind of felt natural, I guess, once I really set my mind back to it. But I'm proud of the championships. I am proud of the coaching career. I'm proud of what I did with the Brave, Rockland, everything. But when I get this diploma, I will probably be the most proud I've ever been in my entire life of getting this MBA.
That's terrific. You know, for you personally, what makes the game of baseball so special? Like when you played it, and then of course now you're coaching it now. I know you talked about a number of things, but just some of, you know, the nuances, some of the, you know, just behind the scenes. Just talk about, like, you know, for you, Andrew.
Well, one thing that I love about the game of baseball, which keeps me coming back for more, is it's a individual game centered around a team concept. It's the only sport where you have the opportunity to act like you're a boxer or a golfer or a tennis player, while at the same time be one of the offensive linemen on the football team or the slot receiver making a block on a pitch to your running back on the right-hand side. You legitimately have to be able to win one-on-one battles where none of your teammates can help you. No one's there to help you if you put yourself in trouble. But at the same time, you have to worry about your team the entire time, because every individual decision you make affects the team. And so if you think about life and any job you've ever had, any team you've ever worked on, every individual decision you make affects the team. So for me, that's why I love baseball, because I can show up to the ballpark every day. I can take a middle infielder and say, hey, okay, let's work on this footwork today for 15 minutes. Let's work on this glove work, and let's work on our flips to second base because we need some better double play feeds, right? But then I can bring 7 of his teammates out and work on the exact same thing. But by adding teammates, it changes the concept. So now that double play feed that he was working on that didn't have a player receiving it now has a player receiving it. And as crazy as it sounds, it changes the mindset, because now you don't want to affect that guy. And so what it does is it teaches you, and again, it's my biggest drive as to why I love coaching, is it teaches you it's the vehicle of life in the game of baseball. And so every day I show up to the ballpark, I say to myself, okay, how can I help an individual get better? Because they have to get better individually. It's a fact, or they're not going to be able to succeed in the game. But also, what can I do today to benefit the team? And I know that every sport and every athlete can say that, but the bottom line is, if I'm a three-point shooter and my job is to get to the line and receive a pass and shoot the 3, I can't do any of that unless the other 4 guys on the court do their job, right? If I'm a running back, I don't run for 1,000 yards if the other 10 guys on the field don't do their job. Well, really, and the fact of the matter is, Mike Trout's the best example. You can be the best player in the game of baseball, and you can also still be on a bad team, because not enough individuals are doing enough for themselves to make them great, and not enough of them are also doing enough to benefit the team. So you can be great at one thing, but if you're only great at one thing in baseball, unfortunately, it's super difficult to be great in the other. And that's why I love it.
That's great. Hey, the last two, I know you talked about support from your family. Can you just, you talked about your dad, your brother, if there's any other family members you want to talk about as well, as said, they've been there
absolutely.
for you on this journey. Yeah.
Both of my parents, my mom and my dad, instrumental. I mean, just because I'm a big believer in looking back on how you got here. And a lot of people think about their coaching career as just 9 years, like, right? My coaching career has been 9 years. No. For me, it started with my parents being willing to drive me to hockey practice at 5 a.m. on a Sunday, right? Because like that showed me the care level that they had in me caring about this sport. And so the same reigns true today, right? Like, if I get a job opportunity, I might be 30 years old, but I'm not taking that if I haven't called my mom and my dad yet and I've had a conversation with them. And some of them are difficult, and they'll listen to this, and I'll be the first to say they haven't necessarily agreed with my career choices to a degree, because I think they believe I should be on the radio every single day and twice on Sunday. And now I think you and I don't disagree, but for me, my heart and soul has to finish this before I can move on to anything else. And so to be able to say that those two people can have the hardest conversations with me of my life and tell me they don't agree with what I'm doing, but at the same time, be my best support system, shows me that I have 2 of the right people in my corner. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to call them mom and dad. And then I am the youngest of 4. I have 2 older sisters and I have an older brother. Yeah. And we moved around so much that, by chance, they became my best friends, because every time we moved somewhere, we didn't have friends. So we just had each other. And being the youngest was difficult sometimes. My oldest sister is 7 years older than me. And, that's difficult when you're 14 and she's 21. It's hard to build those relationships. And the fact that I can, like any friend, call them with anything I possibly need, and they'll support me in this career and in this journey, and they'll listen to the shows and they'll come to the games and they'll cheer me on. Without my family, I'm not there. And then, I mentioned my girlfriend earlier, but it's just, timing's a crazy thing. You put yourself in jobs that don't pay you anything. You're driving places saying, why the hell am I doing this? Yeah. And then all of a sudden one day you meet somebody that reaffirms why you're doing it and almost makes you want to do it more and makes you want to work harder. And so, you know, the 5 family members that I've been fortunate enough to have in my life and my girlfriend, you know, obviously mentioned some teachers and stuff like that, but that my family, they've been my rock, and without them, I'm not here.
I know you mentioned hockey. What other sports? And then when did you, make that, I guess, that transition or that pivot to baseball? Look, this is it right here. This is, what I can, really succeed in, for years to come or for life here, Andrew.
So I spent my whole life up until I was 17 years old playing travel hockey, competitive hockey, wanting to be a college hockey player. My brother and I both together. My brother did live out that dream, and he got a chance to play at the University of Delaware, which is super awesome, and he coached some college hockey too. But my whole life I played baseball and hockey, but the seriousness of the travel side of it was always more on the hockey side. And so I went to the gunnery school looking to be a hockey player in college. And after my junior year, I had started 90% of every game at shortstop for the high school team and for baseball. And I had barely played on the hockey team and barely made varsity 2 of my 3 years there. And so I had a real conversation with Coach Trundy, and he said, man, I think your chance is going to be to play college baseball. And I talked to my mom and my dad, and they were really honest with me. And they're like, listen, Andrew, you're probably not going to be professional in either sport, which I needed to hear. And you're going to have a chance to play college baseball. And I know that you've been hell bent on being a college hockey player, but this is probably what you're going to do. And if you want to be really good at the college level, this could be it. So, I had to make a really hard decision, and that decision, I still think about it all the time because my energy level fit the sport of hockey so well. And I just love this fast-paced nature of it. It's something that I've always loved. But I made that transition when I was a junior going into a senior year of high school. So my recruiting was really late in the baseball world. I was really late in everything that I did in the baseball world. But, once I turned the hockey switch off, I realized how much I loved the game of baseball. And I realized, kind of much like my broadcasting and my coaching career, I can love 2 sports equally. And because I'm not playing one at the next level doesn't devalue what I've done in that sport for the last 15 years and the things that I've gotten to accomplish. And then lastly, when I was at the Frederick Gun School, I got a chance to play varsity football. So I was a varsity football letterman for 2.5 years. I was the captain in all league in varsity football my senior year. I got to play varsity hockey. My senior year, when I decided to play baseball in college, I actually decided to take the winter off from playing hockey. But we had low numbers on the basketball team, so I actually walked onto the varsity basketball team. So I got a chance to play varsity basketball for a year, and then I played varsity baseball. So I got to play 4 varsity sports in high school, which was really, really cool. And I tell kids all the time, play every sport, play everything you can, because one, to be a professional in one is so freaking hard that why not try everything you can, because you only get one chance to do it.
Yeah, the one benefits the other, as far as keeping in shape, and that's great. I know during the course of this interview, you've offered plenty of advice. I'm wondering if there's any more you can add, as far as younger players, kids out there, people want to break into the coaching ranks. So I think you're in, of course, the perfect spot to do that, Andrew.
Well, I appreciate that. And the one thing I would say to anybody, whether that's a player, a potential coach, a potential broadcaster, a potential writer, right? What I would tell anybody is you're never the smartest person in the room. Because if you walk into a room and you automatically believe that people around you, no matter their title, their age, if you believe that you have more knowledge than them, it's going to be very difficult to get places in life. You have to walk into every single room and not believe you're the smartest person in there, because if you don't believe that, you're going to learn something that day. And I think about this all the time. There's a baseball coaches convention we go to every January. There's about 8,000 baseball coaches from across the country that go. And it really is sometimes a macho fest of who knows more. And for the talker that I am, Sunil, in that scenario, I actually sit back and I listen, because for me, listen, I could think that I'm smarter than that guy, but why do I need to get into a pissing contest? So what I'll do is I'll let him do that with someone else, and I'll sit and listen, and I'll take notes. And now I'll learn something from those two guys. And now they don't really have the chance to learn from me because they weren't willing and open to see what other people could teach them. But hey, I was a good listener that day, and I didn't really care if I was the smartest person in the room. So let me learn from them. So if I could tell anybody in any profession, don't ever think you're the smartest person in the room. And even if you're Jeff Bezos retiring from Amazon, I would have to believe that he is Jeff Bezos because he never believed he was the smartest person in the room. He always believed there was something more he could be doing, something more he could be learning, and someone else he could be learning from. I got to say, my girlfriend's been a head softball coach in college for 1 year. I've had 7 more years of experience than her, and I have learned so much from her in her 1 year of experience. And I have learned from some guys I've talked to with 15 years of baseball experience because she's also she's willing to be not the smartest person in the room. And what that turns into is great, honest conversation where people are helping each other get better because no one's trying to take the upper hand. Everyone's just trying to help each other. And I think that mindset will always start those conversations and will always start that learning process. So be a lifelong learner. And never think that you're the smartest person in the room. Because if you go in there with an open mindset to learn, I promise you're going to learn something. And sooner or later, that's going to help benefit you down the road.
Well said. Okay, Andrew, the floor is yours. If I've left anything out, you're more than welcome to add. It's right here, for you.
Well, no, this was awesome, Sunil. I really appreciate you having me on. I would just tell people if you want to follow any of the stuff that I got going on anywhere on Instagram or on Twitter, you can search Wide World of Rome, or you can search Coach Romo24. Coach Romo24 is going to be my personal Instagram and Twitter. The @Wide World of Rome account is going to be everything that does the Rome Show, the One Timer podcast, the Fast 5-Star podcast, and everything associated with the Wide World of Rome. And then we're on Facebook also, the Rome Show, the #1. I know a lot of people like Facebook too, whatever it is, check us out. And then wideworldofrome.com can give you all that information as well. And hopefully, and I tell this to people all the time, if you check it out, you don't have to like anything we do, but I ask for your opinion, good, bad, or indifferent, because whether it's a good opinion or a bad opinion, it can help us get better. So if you listen and we suck, let us know we suck and why so we can get better.
Oh man, it's been an absolute true honor and privilege, speaking with you, interviewing Andrew, wishing you, I said, nothing but the best and all the success here, of course, with with FDU baseball and with your sports talk show, and it just again, great catching up with you, and just keep up the great work.
Sunil, I really appreciate it, man. Anything you ever need. And I am now a huge fan. So I'm going to be not only the one that I'm on, but I'm going to be listening to all of these from now on. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Absolutely.